You know what they say, all roads lead to Rome. But this time, we're not following the ones that lead to the Colosseum and other tourist hotspots. Over the next few days, we're skipping the bucket list and chasing the best food and drinks, hidden views, and the kind of Rome you only find when you follow the pores, not the crowds. Let's get tipsy, y'all. We've done Rome the classic way before. The Colosseum, the Pantheon, the Trevi Fountain, and if this is your first time in Rome, you absolutely should do those things. They're iconic and popular for a reason, but this trip is different for us. We're here for a few days, working during the week, soaking up the weekend, and exploring the Rome that lives between the landmarks. Less standing in lines, more neighborhood energy. If you're planning your first trip and want the full traditional 3-day Rome itinerary, we've got that mapped out step by step on our blog, and we've linked that below. But this video, this is what Rome looks like when you've already checked those boxes. Before we start eating and drinking, you'll notice a lot of what we're doing is not in the historic city center, but in the Trastevere neighborhood, and this is why that matters. It literally means across the Tiber, and for most of Rome's history, that river was a dividing line. On one side, emperors and monuments. On this side, outsiders. Immigrants, sailors, craftsmen, and early Christian communities. It was the working class, multicultural, and a little scrappy. While the rest of Rome was building grand forums, Trastevere was building tight alleyways and a strong neighborhood identity. Right in the center sits a basilica, which we'll be visiting later, and it's one of the oldest churches in Rome, dating back to the 300s. So yes, the history runs very deep. Over time, artists were drawn to it because it felt real, and that feeling never really left. Even now, under the busy restaurants and cocktail bars, it still feels lived in, and that's exactly why we're here to explore more of it. Good morning! First day in Rome. We are going to go find some breakfast and some coffee.
All right, so we just went to Pasticceria Santini, which has been operating since 1924 for breakfast. I had the classic meritozzo, which is a very classic dish here in Rome and the Lazio region. It's really just kind of a sweet brioche bread with a bunch of whipped cream in it. It is every bit as messy to eat as it looks like it would be.
I don't really know how to go about this, but not like that. Very good though.
But at the same time, I feel like I am going to be hungry in a little bit because there wasn't much substance to it, because as you saw, it was just loaded with whipped cream, like light, airy whipped cream, which again, was great. It's kind of typical for an Italian breakfast, pretty light. And Sam had the ciabattoni filled with crema.
It's like an elephant ear. Like at the park, like at a theme park. What it tastes like.
Was every bit as delicious as it looked. I mean, it was like caked in sugar and caramelized, and then a little bit of that cream as well. Really, really good.
Now that we are done with breakfast, we're gonna go see something that's very unique for Rome. Yes, there is a pyramid in Rome. This is a pyramid of Cestius, built around 12 BC as a tomb for a Roman magistrate named Gaius Cestius. Why a pyramid? Great question. After years of civil war in Rome, Mark Antony and Cleopatra, yes, that ultra-famous couple, were aligned both politically and romantically. And their main rival was Octavian, who would later become the Emperor Augustus. In 31 BC, Octavian defeated them in a battle. The following year, he invaded Egypt, and after Antony and Cleopatra died, Egypt officially became a Roman province. Suddenly, Egypt was trending. Rome became obsessed with Egyptian style, architecture, and wealthy elites started copying it. So about 18 years later, Cestius built this pyramid in Rome. It's about 36 meters tall, built of brick, and covered in white marble. And it's been standing here for more than 2,000 years. But the story doesn't stop with the pyramid. A few centuries later, Rome found itself facing a very different problem.
By the 3rd century AD, the Roman Empire was no longer untouchable. Invasions were increasing, political instability was spreading, and the empire was stretched very thin. So Emperor Aurelian made a decision that earlier Romans probably never imagined needing to make. He built walls around Rome. These massive defensive walls are the Aurelian Walls and were constructed in the 270s AD and originally stretched about 19 kilometers around the city with towers, gates, and fortifications. fortifications. And like so many other Roman projects, efficiency mattered. So instead of demolishing existing structures, the builders simply worked them into the wall system, which is why the pyramid of Cestius became part of the wall itself, because it was easier to build around it than to tear it down. So what started as a tomb inspired by Egypt eventually became part of Rome's defensive line. And nearly 1800 years later, large sections of these walls are still standing. But just beyond them, the story of Rome takes a much quieter turn.
Right next to the pyramid and just inside the shadow of the old city walls is one of the most unexpectedly peaceful places in Rome. This is the non-Catholic cemetery for foreigners, also known as the Protestant cemetery. They do ask that you don't do any photography inside the cemetery as it is still an active burial ground, which is why we're talking about it out here. For centuries, Rome did not allow Catholics to be buried near a church, so foreigners, Protestants, Orthodox Christians, artists, diplomats, and travelers were all buried here, just outside of the ancient city walls. And somehow it became one of the most peaceful corners in the city. One of the most famous graves belonged to John Keats. His tombstone doesn't even include his name. Instead, it reads, "Here lies one whose name was writ in water," because he believed he would be forgotten. This definitely doesn't feel like the Rome of tour groups and selfie sticks, and the contrast is really wild. One minute you're in traffic near the busy road, and the next you're in a cemetery of poets and philosophers, with the occasional Roman cat wandering between the gravestones. A very good reminder that Rome isn't just empires and monuments, it's also about the people who passed through it. We are a bit hungry, so we're gonna go to a nearby market.
This is Mercato di Testaccio in the Testaccio neighborhood of Rome. Now, this market sits in what used to be Rome's slaughterhouse district. For centuries, Testaccio was working class Rome. Butchers, laborers, dock workers, and that history helped shape Roman cuisine in a big way. A lot of traditional Roman dishes come from what's called cucina povera, or peasant cooking. So everything is used and nothing is wasted. Oxtail, tripe, you name it. Dishes that were born out of necessity and turned into Roman staples. And Testaccio is where that culinary identity really took root. Today, the market is much more modern, clean, and packed with stalls selling fresh produce, pasta, pizza al taglio or by the slice, supplì, and sandwiches stuffed with slow-cooked Roman classics. If you want to eat like a local without committing to a full sit-down meal, this is your spot. Now, Rome is well known for many of its pastas like carbonara or amatriciano or cacio e pepe, but we are on the go today, so we needed something a little bit more portable. These are supplì, and they are a classic Roman street food that you will find everywhere in Rome. They're super simple. They are just fried rice balls filled with ragu and mozzarella, but you can find other variations too, like we have here today, cacio e pepe. Now, the name comes from the French word surprise because of the melted cheese center. They are cheap, portable, and perfect for wandering those cobblestone streets.
I have been crushing my supplì.
I have not had a bite yet.
You're gonna try one of these in Rome. The guy had told the couple behind us who was ordering these that these are basically a serving of risotto in a compressed fried ball. So you really only need one per person.
They are hearty.
They are fantastic. Now that we are completely stuffed, we're gonna go work out. We're gonna go up a hill to see if we can find a viewpoint of Rome. Rome has 7 very famous hills. This is not one of them, but it's supposed to have an incredible view. Let's go find out. Rome is famously built on 7 hills, and those hills were the original core of the city. Back in the 8th century BC, these hills weren't part of one city. They were separate hilltop settlements. Hills meant protection from floods and invaders, so people built up high. Over time, the valleys in between them were filled in, and those villages merged into what became Rome. According to legend, Romulus founded the city on the Palatine Hill in 753 BC, and that hill later became prime real estate for emperors, which is why we have the word palace. So when people say Rome is built on 7 hills, they're talking about the ancient heart of the city.
This is Gianicola Hill, and it has one of the best views in all of Rome. Historically, this hill became important back in 1849 as it was a key battleground during the defense of the short-lived Roman Republic. You'll see monuments up here dedicated to Giuseppe Garibaldi and the soldiers who fought to unify Italy. There's also a daily cannon firing at noon. Yep, an actual cannon. That started way back in the 1800s as a way to synchronize church bells across the city because I guess Rome likes to timekeep dramatically. And then a few hundred meters down the hill, there's the Fontana dell'Acqua Paola, which looks like someone built a Trevi fountain and just forgot to tell all of the crowds. It marks the end of a restored ancient aqueduct and makes for one of the best backdrops in the entire city. But the real reason to come up here, the panorama. From up here, you can see the dome of St. Peter's, the monument to Victor Emmanuel II, and the rooftop stretching endlessly. It gives you context as you can truly appreciate how layered and sprawling Rome actually is. If you want a free, unforgettable view of Rome without buying a rooftop cocktail, this is it. But don't worry, because we'll be doing that a little bit later too.
The Basilica di Santa Maria is located right in the heart of the Trastevere neighborhood, and it sits on one of the oldest Christian worship sites in Rome, dating back to the 300s, long before most of the famous landmarks that people line up for today even existed. Legend says that in 38 BC, oil started bubbling up from the ground right here. Early Christians later saw that as a sign connected to the birth of Christ. By the 200s, when Christianity was still illegal, believers were already gathering on this spot. That means this wasn't built as a grand monument. It started as a quiet, protected meeting place. Romans saw it as a sign, and centuries later, this church was built. What you're looking at today mostly dates back to the 1100s. Pope Innocent II rebuilt the entire basilica and reused columns from ancient Roman baths. That's why it feels Roman and medieval at the same time, because Rome never throws anything away. And make sure you look up at the golden mosaic behind the altar, as it shows Christ and Mary seated together, which was a bold statement in the 12th century, elevating Mary's importance in the church. So this building isn't just old, it reflects theological shifts that were happening in real time. And the best part, it's completely free to enter. No ticket, no time slot, no massive tour groups cycling through every 10 minutes. You walk in, you look up, and you're standing inside nearly 1,700 years of history.
This is Piazza Trilussa, right at the edge of Trastevere, where the neighborhood meets the Tiber River. It's named after the Roman poet Carlo Alberto Salustri, who wrote under the name Trilussa back in the early 1900s. He was known for writing in Roman dialect, poking fun at politics and everyday life. The staircase you see here is a huge gathering point, and the fountain itself is older than the square, originally built in the 1600s and later moved here. But what makes this place special is not the architecture, it's the energy. At night, these steps turn into Trastevere's unofficial living room. Musicians set up, people spill out of nearby bars, there's no ticket, you just kind of show up.
We are going to grab a rooftop drink. We found a rooftop terrace right here in Trastevere at Una Hotel Trastevere, Roma. And this might be one of the best ways to experience Rome without fighting through crowds or climbing up a massive hill. And from up here, you get that classic Roman skyline, terracotta rooftops, church domes, and of course, lighting that turns everything golden once the sunset if it was sunny. You can even spot Victor Emmanuel monument among the skyline. And yes, before you say anything, this is definitely not the cheapest drink or way to see Rome from above. But compared to paying for multiple ticketed viewpoints, sipping a drink up here feels like a strategic move, which we're pretty happy with. We're here for the view, obviously. Also, rooftop drinks hit a bit different after climbing the hill earlier, so we're gonna consider this recovery. For tonight, I went ahead and went with an espresso martini, and Chris went with their house Negroni, which I have jokingly said is like the 5 horsemen. It's your traditional Negroni, but they also added Aperol and a rum to it, so there's actually 5 types of liquors in his drink.
That is correct. There are 5 normal Negroni plus the rum and the Aperol, so it is kind of juiced up a bit. We were up very early this morning, so this is kind of bringing me back to life. It'll probably put me to sleep a little bit later as well, but it's doing the trick right now. It's very good.
So we ended up booking this rooftop a week or so ago where the weather was not supposed to be as cloudy. It's supposed to be sunny today. It is supposed to rain the rest of the time that we are here. So we're going to take advantage of it. Even though it's not the most perfect day, we are so grateful to have this incredible view with an incredible person next to me.
That's me.
So we have 1 more hour before dinner. So I think we're gonna do 1 more set of cocktails. This place is super close to where we're going for dinner, so we're gonna head there next. That bar was incredible. So I had found it on the 50 best cocktail list, and they are purely tequila and mezcal.
But they have other liquor, not just tequila and mezcal, but they have gin, rum, whiskey, but it's all from Mexico, so fully Mexican liquors.
Yeah, Chris went with their mezcal Negroni, and I went with their cocktail of the month. Mine was so good. I drank it a bit too quickly. I should have slowed down. It was delicious. It was so good.
Pineapple and mint, I think it was. Yeah, very good.
So good. And yours was fantastic.
It was, yeah. I'm sticking on the Negroni train tonight, I guess.
So we are heading to dinner next, and this was a recommendation from our friend, so we are looking very excited. We're looking very excited. We are heading to dinner next. Dinner tonight came recommended by our Italian friend Brian. So Brian, if this is good, you're getting full credit. The Gattabuia is tucked into a quiet corner of Trastevere, and it's built inside what used to be a 17th century papal prison. You're literally eating pasta inside a former jail cell. The name actually translates to the drunk tank. Inside, you've got exposed brick, vaulted ceilings, and that classic trattoria atmosphere. It's not flashy, and it's not trying to be trendy. And that's the thing about this neighborhood. Yes, there are certainly some tourist menus and flashier spots, but when an Italian friend sends you somewhere specific, that's the move. We'll report back on whether Brian just secured himself legend status or not. We just got back to the Airbnb from dinner, and wow, one, that place was very hot. That's why my cheeks are so flushed. Number two, absolutely fantastic. Brian, legend status, as always. So for tomorrow, we have no plans, but your guess is as good as mine is what we get into. See y'all tomorrow. Good morning. We got a little bit of a later start than normal for us. We usually are up and out the door by 7:30. I woke up at 7:30 today, so it's a little bit later. We are on our way to a French bakery to go grab some breakfast, and then we have no idea what we're doing today, so let's find out. I had done a lot of research on Le Levain, and this was one of the best French bakeries in this neighborhood. And I know it's kind of weird that we're doing French pastries or bakery in the morning, but we also live here, so we wanted to do something a little bit different than a portato. Okay, thoughts on the bakery. The croissant and mini croissant were great. Chris's
Pasticciotto was delicious, yeah.
my carrot cake muffin thing with a little bit to be desired. I don't mind strong carrot. It was just very dry. So I would say 3 out of 4, good.
After breakfast, we came over to Isola Tiberina, the small island sitting right in the middle of the Tiber River in Rome, and it's been associated with healing for more than 2,000 years. Back in 293 BC, during a plague, Romans brought a sacred serpent from the Greek god Asclepius' temple in hopes of stopping the outbreak. According to legend, the serpent slithered off the ship and onto this island, and the Romans took that as a sign and built a temple to Asclepius, the god of medicine here. From that moment on, this island became tied to healthcare. There has been some form of hospital here for centuries. Even today, there's still a working hospital on this island. In ancient times, the island was even shaped to resemble a ship, with stone embankments forming the hull and an obelisk at its center like a mast. If you walk toward the southern tip and look upstream, you'll see Pons Aemilius.
This broken arch in the river is Pons Aemilius. It dates back to 179 BC, making it the oldest stone bridge in Rome. Originally, this was a major crossing point over the Tiber, connecting the Forum area to Trastevere. For centuries, people, carts, goods, and entire processions moved across this exact span. But the Tiber floods a lot. Over time, repeated flooding damaged the bridge, and by the 16th century, most of it had collapsed, leaving just this single dramatic arch standing in the water. But instead of fully restoring it, Rome just left it. Ancient infrastructure, partially destroyed and still photogenic, and all part of the landscape. The weather report got it very wrong. It is an absolutely gorgeous day here in Rome. We just spent some time walking around the Prati neighborhood. Because it's Sunday, a whole lot wasn't really open. We stopped at this cute little pizzeria for lunch. It's a quick grab and go situation. It was awesome. We loved it. So now we're gonna head back towards our side of town, and we're gonna go find a bar. We walked like 30 minutes, so decided it was time for more gelato. Not mad at all.
Well, I spoke too soon. So it was a gorgeous day. We came back to the Airbnb to drop some stuff, ended up kind of siesta-ing, and then when we woke up, it was thunderstorming. So we're just gonna hang in here until we have our cocktail reservations tonight. There's a super famous speakeasy here in Rome, and we're going to one of their sister bars, which is here in the neighborhood. So we are going to be heading there shortly. All right, it's actually beautiful again. So the weather's been playing with us.
This is Jerry Thomas Barroom in Trastevere, and if you're into cocktails even a little bit, this name carries some serious weight. It's part of the Jerry Thomas Project, which is the crew that helped put Rome on the modern cocktail map. Their original spot in the city center, the Jerry Thomas Speakeasy, was one of Italy's first serious bars and ended up ranking on the world's 50 best bar list. The whole concept is inspired by Jerry Thomas himself, who's often considered the father of American mixology, as he wrote one of the first cocktail books back in the 1800s. The barroom is super intimate, like only 6 tables intimate, but with classic old-timey lounge vibes. To enter, you ring the bell, and then this little slot just pops open and ninja eyeballs pop out. We made sure that we had reservations because we knew how small it was, and per the usual, we were the first ones in. Their menu is reworked classics with house twists. I got the El Diablo Royal with tequila, lime cordial, wine, and champagne. Chris went with the House Negroni, which he said might be on his top 10 Negroni list. And that's what we think is a really cool thing about Rome, is you can have centuries-old churches and monuments and structures during the day, but then at night, you're sitting in a bar that could hold its own in London or New York. So we just left the bar room and our cocktails were fantastic. We both really enjoyed what we had.
Yeah, as I said, my Negroni was very good. Probably makes my top 10 list. But one thing you should know, both of our cocktails that we had, I don't know if it was just specific to ours or the entire menu, but both of the cocktails we had were pre-made and poured out of a jar, a bottle of some sort.
With only 6 tables and the way the bar was positioned in the room, it was as if they were going to be, you know, more extravagant with the pours.
It's not just a show, but that is part of the craft of mixology in general. So that was lacking in our opinion here.
It just takes away some of the magic.
Something's missing, yeah.
And we'd go back.
Agreed.
The cocktails were good enough that we would go back. We have time for one more cocktail, and we're going to go try to get to another bar that was also on the top 50 list.
Right around the corner from Piazza Trilussa is one of the most iconic aperitivo spots in all of Trastevere. This is Freni e Frizioni, and the atmosphere here is a complete 180 from where we just were. And let me tell you, we are absolutely here for it. The name literally means brakes and clutches because this building used to be an auto repair garage. Now, instead of fixing cars, they're fixing our thirst. Freni e Frizioni has earned international recognition and has appeared on the world's 50 best bars extended list, which highlights some of the best influential cocktail bars around the world.
That place was awesome and definitely more of our vibe.
That was a vibe, yeah.
That place was great.
That was great.
This place is not only incredibly full, but so much Italian. In an international city, that's always a great thing. My cocktail rocked.
Yeah.
It was 2 rums and Fernet, and I am not a Fernet fan. I've tried to like it, and they have changed my mind on Fernet in the sense of I will drink it in a cocktail now and not be turned off by it.
And mine had Jack Daniels, which I haven't had in 2 years since leaving the States, so that brought me back home a little bit, but it was very good. Keep in mind, they do not take reservations. This place is first come, first serve only, so just get here early if you want a guaranteed spot.
Come for Aperitivo. They do have, with any drink purchase, for about €3, you have access to a buffet, which had pastas and like some veggies, some other just small dishes. This is definitely a good spot, and we highly recommend it.
Absolutely.
Wow, dinner was fantastic. Both of our starters and our meals were awesome.
Yeah, we had Jewish artichoke, which is a fried artichoke. Really, really good. Really different, but very good, very good.
Oh my God, it was so good. Our fried mozzarella balls. I mean, you can't go wrong with fried mozzarella balls.
And then I had amatriciana, which I'm now 2 for 2 on kind of Rome's 4 main pastas. So we'll see if I can go for 4 for 4 the rest of this week.
That'd be fun for you.
It's a challenge. I'm happy to take it up for everybody.
Well, with that being said, obviously we're back at the Airbnb and we have to work a full day tomorrow. So we will be catching up with you guys after we get off work tomorrow night.
We worked most of the morning, but at lunchtime, I wanted to take advantage of a beautiful weather day and strolled over to the Aventine Hill to check out the vantage point. Perched on Aventine Hill, the Giardino degli Aranci is one of the most peaceful viewpoints in Rome. From here, you get a beautiful panoramic view of the city with St. Peter's Dome rising above the skyline. The garden is lined with orange trees and quiet pathways, making it a perfect spot to step away from crowds and take in Rome from above. From the Orange Garden, I am walking towards the famous Keyhole of Malta. If you haven't heard about it, it's basically a garden door that has a keyhole in it that perfectly frames the dome of the Vatican. Now, I looked at this online and the crowds are typically crazy to go look through this keyhole, and there are several mixed reviews on Google. So let's go see if it's worth your time to go look through this little keyhole. Okay, so this line goes from the door and goes in a complete semicircle and back down the way I came. Considering that there are thousands of stock images and videos online, I don't feel like this is worth waiting in line for when you can walk right over here and get just as good of a view. It's just not through a keyhole. So I think at the end of the day, you need to figure out if this is really worth your time, if you're only in Rome for a short period of time. Is it probably cool? Yeah, I'm sure it is. But also, like, is it really worth waiting in line? I talked to somebody near the front and they've been here for about a half hour. I don't know, guys. I'm gonna go ahead and I'm gonna say this is not something you should do. I think you should go over to the Orange Garden and just get the pretty view from there. So if you do end up going, or if you have been, drop me a comment, drop us a comment, let us know. Did you think it was worth the wait?
We just got off work and we're going to go find something sudsy to drink, I think.
L'Antica Birreria Peroni is one of Rome's oldest beer halls. It opened back in 1906 and is obviously tied to the Peroni brewing family. If you want early 20th century Rome drinking culture, this is it. So a lot less ancient empire and much more industrial Italy. I went with the classic Peroni while Sam tried their Weiss or Bianca style. Both very refreshing and a fun way to get a very different perspective of this eternal city.
Those beers were great. I know we said we weren't going to do anything touristy in this video, but the Trevi Fountain is right here, and they just put in the €2 entry fee. So I do consulting calls for Italy trips, so if you guys need that, the link is down below. But I just wanted to make sure I understood how it all worked. From my understanding, it is cashless, so you can either pay in person or online between very specific hours, and I want to know what it looks like. So we are on our way there now. Part of the reason this sucks so much is because this piazza is very, very small, which is why it feels crowded all the time. It's actually not that many people had this piazza been expansive, but because it's such a narrow spot, everyone kind of converges. Just think of traffic at rush hour, same idea.
Okay, so full recon. There are two lines that are forming where they check the tickets. The first line is to pay on site, which is the line that has all the people in it right now. And the second line is for those that purchase online. So if you don't know when you're gonna be here, prepare to wait in a line to buy your ticket. If you can plan accordingly, if you're going to do this, you will book your ticket online. It is a ticketed, timed entry. Pop in the nobody line right now and just breeze right through. The crowds here, when you see those videos online that are trying to scare you in how crowded Rome is, it's because this piazza is like the smallest piazza in all of Italy. So with that being said, don't let the crowd scare you. Actually, this is quite manageable for what I thought it was going to be. We're here in March, it is off season. So if you're coming in the summer, get the ticket ahead, plan it, you'll have a great time. So they've added the barricades and it looks like they are just scanning tickets to get down. So if you don't want to pay the €2, you can absolutely see the Trevi Fountain. But if you want to get closer, this is the place. Okay, we saw we got our fill of tourists.
That was enough.
And now we're gonna go back to our side of town, which we highly recommend, to get more beer.
This spot is like a local beer hall here in the Trastevere neighborhood, and honestly, it was awesome. We really enjoyed it. We're looking up dinner because we have no plans for what we're going to eat. But this place is great. They had at least 12 taps, if not 15, and they knew their stuff, which is great. All right, let's go find food. So we were just walking down an alley.
As one does.
And we saw this place, takeaway, and the prices were very reasonable. And Chris is on the hunt to do all the different pastas.
3 for 3 now.
So tomorrow he will round out the trifecta. No,
2 now.
quadfecta.
I don't know. Let us know in the comments what the fourth one is. I'm sure you guys know.
Quadfecta.
I don't think it's that.
Anyway, we got a different type of artichoke because we had the Jewish style last night. We had a grilled one the night.
Roman style.
The Roman grilled style the night before. So we got a not Jewish style, not grilled style, fried style for tonight. All of this is takeaway. So we're going to grab it from this little spot and we're going to head to the Airbnb and we will show you what we got and our thoughts there.
Let's go eat.
I think Chris is happy. What do you guys think? Okay, we made it home. Yes, I changed because I don't trust myself with tomato sauce on any other color but black. This looks so good, and this is a lot of pasta. Like, this is heavy. It's really crazy how heavy this is. I cannot wait to dig in.
I think this is great. Chris had a variation of this a couple nights ago. So in comparison, which one do you like more? Granted, this one's a takeaway.
Yeah, I would prefer it fresh, but that one is good, and it's different pasta. So this is the tonarelli, so much thicker spaghetti type pasta. Both very good.
This artichoke, y'all, this is like being at the state fair. Although finally it's healthy for you because it's an artichoke. All right, imagine it wasn't takeaway. How would you feel about it?
Probably better. We've had some other fried things this week. This is, I feel like, less heavy.
Another full day tomorrow of work, and then we're gonna go play for our last night in Rome. But tomorrow night, we have dinner reservations, and we're gonna do a wine tasting before that. With that being said, we're gonna eat, and we will catch you guys tomorrow night. Good night.
Well, good morning. There was a lot of noise from the street, and so Chris and I are working. They're filming something here, and according to Google, it could be one of many different things. There's a Mel Gibson movie being filmed. Adele is in her premiere role here. It could be that. Emily in Paris is filming here. So Chris was able to see some of the lanyards and some other stuff, and apparently it's called Sidewinder. It's a Netflix movie or show. I guess we'll see what is happening. So while Chris was on a work call, I decided to run to this cookie shop that was in this neighborhood. I have seen crazy lines and I managed just to walk right in. They don't have like a menu, so you just kind of point. So I got like $5 worth of cookies and one giant pommier cookie. Whatever this is like my favorite thing on this planet. I've already eaten 2. I'm not a big fan of the amaretto one. Did you like it? Yeah, Chris liked it. I wasn't the biggest fan. I'm trying to convince him to go back to get more cookies with me. He's not about that life. And you guys have got to see this giant, and I do mean giant pommier cookie. Pommier cookies are like one of my absolute favorite. And this thing is literally bigger than my head. Look at this. I'm so excited. It's gonna be great. We're going to go get a glass of wine for our last night in Rome. You know, we live in Bologna, so we get to drink wine all the time. So when we travel, we tend to lean into cocktails and beers and other types of alcohol. So let's go find us a glass of vino.
So for our aperitivo tonight, we came to Enoteca Cuviere, which is like a super cute Enoteca. For this wine bar, it's kind of hard to explain the style and the vibe. It is like Victorian era, where you have, I'd say grandma's furniture. It's definitely grandma's furniture, but it's super cozy. The candles are all lit. They're super stacked. The wax is dripping off them. It's definitely a vibe, and I'm very much here for it. We ended up getting 2 different glasses of wine just to kick off the night. I went with a Primitivo, and Chris went with a Cesanese, which both of them are amazing. Mine's 2016, and it's a DOC, and it's smoky and smooth, and it's honestly like very, very impressive. His is definitely a bit lighter, but also a delightfully delicious red. So this place is really, really great. Very wine first. They do have a small menu if you're looking for some snacks. They also have beer and a super impressive list of Italian gins, potentially the biggest list we've seen at an Enoteca. That little wine bar was directly under the Airbnb that we're staying in. It has been quite noisy sleeping there, but totally worth it because I really enjoyed that glass. Spirito di Vino sits in one of the oldest continuously used buildings in Trastevere. Parts of the structure date back to ancient Rome, and the restaurant's wine cellar is built into what were once Roman storage spaces. When you go downstairs, you're not just in an old cellar, you're in stone rooms that predate most of Rome. The restaurant opened in the late 1990s and was created with a very specific idea: combine serious Roman cuisine with an equally serious wine program. Unlike many trattorias that focus primarily on pasta and house wine, Spirito di Vino built its identity around curated bottles. Their cellar is known for aging selections and verticals, meaning multiple vintages of the same producer, which is fairly uncommon in neighborhood restaurants. Food-wise, they lean traditional Roman and Lazio. You'll of course see the classics like carbonara and amatriciana, but also dishes that highlight regional ingredients and more refined plating than your average trattoria. We saw a completely different side of Rome in this video, and we're here to tell you that Rome doesn't suck if you skip the major attractions.
If you want help planning your own Rome adventure, be sure to check out the links in the description below.
Thanks for watching, y'all. Cheers.
Cheers.